Hello and welcome back to Jarvis Johnson Gold, the premium channel that is free. It is free, but if you're watching this, you're premium. And today we are talking about Mann again. Darmanitan. Where we last left our fearless leader, Mann. It was in February, so it was about a little over a month and a half ago. I got sick. I was initially planning to do a follow-up to the allegations about Mann and the workplace environment that he was allegedly fostering and the protests that were happening outside of Mann's studio. I did a video about that at the beginning of February, was planning to do a follow-up, got sick, was actually just in bed watching a bunch of events unfold. And there are new updates. So I thought today we would talk about how we got to the point we're at today and what has transpired in the past few weeks. Mann is fine. He always was going to be fine because he is a force. He is a sheer force on YouTube, and he could fire every actor he's ever worked with and be fine because he's going to be able to find new people to fill in those roles. Also, I know my hair is weird. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. You're just going to have to bear with me. So in the last video, this is a last time on Dragon Ball Z moment. In the last video, we talked about how actors who are sort of known faces from Mann videos, like Colin A. Borden and Mayor Mulroney, were protesting because they were not seeing their share of the pie from the years of labor that they put into Mann as it grew from a small operation inside of an apartment to a giant, one of the largest channels on YouTube, like probably hundreds of people working there, operation. The Mann workers banded together. They asked for a meeting. The meeting was granted, but Mann was not present. And as they're all contractors and not official employees with connections to HR and all that, they wanted to meet with the direct boss that signs their checks, and they were told that that would not be possible. This led to calls of protest and hypocrisy amongst the Mann staff and, viewers like us who were on the sidelines, because we saw a guy who does these moral stories and literally has videos about evil bosses mistreating their workers, multiple videos. And it didn't seem like he was able to see eye to eye or come to a compromise with his own workers. And so it went viral, of course. After my video, I was contacted by a number of Mann employees, both former and current, and we will talk about some of their stories. But first, we have to talk about the most important thing that happened after my video was that Mann responded. Well, Mann didn't respond. Mann Studios, the entity, the corporation, responded and took an issue with some of the misinformation that was being shared by the workers protesting and the people sharing stuff online. Hey, Mann fam. Sorry, I'm not going to do the voice. Hey, Mann fam. We want to address the recent protests by some of our actors. This is on the Mann Studios page, not the big Mann page. And it is also gone now. So I took these screenshots when this post first went up, and I tried to collect as many receipts as possible because I wasn't convinced that it would stick around. And I was right. Most of the stuff related to this protest has now been scrubbed from Mann's social media. First off, we'd like to thank the many actors and fans who have reached out to show their support, gratitude, and solidarity to us. We truly appreciate you. Okay. So this is very much about them and not the people who were protesting or affected. For background, we did arrange an in-person hour-long meeting with actor representatives and two of our most senior leaders, including our head of production, in hopes of understanding concerns prior to any protests. During that meeting, the actor representatives refused to communicate any concerns and instead walked out. More info in our stories, which we'll get to. But this is disputed by the actors in question, the actors leading that meeting, one of which was Colin A. Borden, who we saw in the previous video. But before we get into that, this video is made possible by today's sponsor, Scentbird. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service with a mission to empower each and everyone to express themselves through scent. With Scentbird, you choose a new designer fragrance to try every month for just $17. And they offer a great variety to choose from. Scentbird carries popular brands like Prada, Gucci, and Versace, as well as indie labels like like Skylar, Heretic, and Confessions of a Rebel. They have perfumes, colognes, and a lot of unisex options as well. With each fragrance, you'll get a 30-day supply, so you can try them out before committing to a full-size bottle, which could cost as much as $150 or in some cases $300 to $500. This month, I got Dolce & Gabbana, Pour Homme, East 12th from Ash by Ashley Benson, and Royal Forest from English Laundry. My favorite is Royal Forest because it makes me smell like a forest after the rain. Probably heard me talk about Scentbird before, and that's because it's actually something I use every day. And if you're interested in trying it as well, go ahead and click the link in the description and use promo code Johnson, that's me, for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That's just a little over $7 for your first month. Available in USA and Canada. Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. Now back to the update. In regards to actor compensation, we believe we pay our actors competitively compared to our peers. That will become a disputed point because who are Dhar peers? Exactly. And also it's critics, the actors who are critiquing this would say that that's a kind of a clever use of language that skirts the actual issue at hand. Our rates for actors vary. Extras receive $18 an hour, and speaking role actors receive $33 to $44 an hour. We are proud to have given thousands of actors job opportunities, and the last year alone paid millions of dollars capital, okay, in actor compensation. That last part is a bit of a nothing burger, right? Because of course, if you add up all of the salaries of all of the actors, then you can get a very large number of actor salaries paid. So the fact that you've paid millions to whom? You know, it's not to a small number of people, it's to a large number of people. A lot of people being paid a little bit of money so that they can try and say, hey, we're paying millions of dollars to our actors, because they want you to think, this is written in a way that wants you to think, oh, these actors, they're getting paid lots of money. Actors by nature work for many different production companies. We'll talk about this. We offer project-based opportunities that vary from a few hours long to a few days. We do not offer full-time positions as we try to spread around opportunities and show a wide range of faces. So the issues with this point gets further broken down by a number of the different actors that have been protesting. All details, including pay rate and length of the production, are specified in the offer letter, and the actor has the freedom to accept or decline the project. If accepted, actors are always paid shortly after a production wraps, typically within 72 hours. A lot of these points are disputed, both the information that an actor is given at the point of receiving a contract and whether or not they're paid on a timely schedule. I think that they could be edge cases, they could be, one-offs, but in both of these cases, there are actors who've posted publicly that refute these points. Now, here we get into the juicy stuff. Here, they finally addressed the protests. Yesterday, a group of protesters interfered with two productions that were taking place. Oh no, the protesters disrupted the production? That's kind of the point. We want to apologize, to crew members and actors affected by these protesters. Okay. All right. So, and for the stress it may have caused. I'm so sorry, current workers, that you're being disrupted by these loud former workers who are protesting their working conditions. If you guys could just ignore them and get back to your poor working conditions, that would be great. So that's what they posted on the official Dhar Mann Studios Instagram. They alluded in this post to an Instagram story where they more directly refuted what they called myths about working at Dhar Mann. And as it is an Instagram story, it expires in 24 hours. But yes, I did screenshot all of the panels of the story and we'll be looking at it. Here we go again. Hey, Dhar Mann fam. I cannot help myself. I'm so sorry. While I'm going through these myths, I may cut to some of the actors disputing some of these points or commenting on some of these points, because a number of the actors have gone live or they've posted about this. And I think it's important flavor to see how the actors are interpreting this stuff when you're hearing the sort of PR speak of the Dhar Mann Corporation saying what happened,
There's been a lot of gaslighting going on. It's all over the myths that they posted today.
Myth number 1, Dhar Mann did not show up to the meeting he promised he would attend. That's not what the myth was. They said that they wanted him to attend. He never promised that he would attend, but they delivered the letter directly to his office. They delivered it directly to someone who shared it with him. This is refuted by the actors. I'll just say that. And so then they say the truth. On Friday, January 13th, end of day at 3:05 p.m., we received an email requesting a meeting. We were asked to respond by Monday, which was a national holiday, MLK, in regards to setting up a meeting. I want you to notice something about how they're doing their messaging. Because if the actors who've disputed this are to be believed, which I do believe them, because why would they lie about this? It's very misleading to say, hey, they said that we needed a reply by MLK Day, because they realized that and moved the day. And also the studio is open on MLK Day. They're recording videos on MLK Day. So if you're not like, it's not like they were observing the holiday and nobody was at work. It was a normal day of work where they were all doing stuff. So, and they moved it to the next day. So they're being disingenuous. They're being uncharitable here by including this original MLK Day. It's almost like they're like trying to get as much sympathy as possible. Like, oh, these actors who want better working conditions are so unreasonable. That's like what this reads as to me. Despite the short response demand, our head of human resources responded by Monday. In the response from the actor representative, it was stated, we would appreciate Dhar and Ruben's attendance. It was never stated that it was required, nor does Dhar typically attend these types of meetings. So Ruben, the head of our production, and Janessa, head of human resources, scheduled to attend the meeting. This was a situation that in later statements from the actors, they said the language was just being a little too polite, but it was later reiterated that they expected Dhar's attendance, and it was delivered directly to Dhar. So I just feel like they're trying to nitpick. During the meeting with our senior managers, the actor representatives showed up and were immediately upset Dhar Mann was not there. We reiterated that the two senior leaders who were present would make sure the concerns got heard and requested feedback. No feedback was given in the hour-long meeting schedule. The actor representatives angrily walked out after a few minutes. This is disputed, as all these things are. The way that they dispute it is that it's, they just had terms and they calmly, just refused to give their feedback without Dhar present.
No, you're getting a half truth, and they're trying to make it sound like it was our fault because Colin and Chaz stormed out. They had very articulated up to that point that Dhar needed to be present at that meeting, and then he wasn't, so they left. They clearly communicated he needed to be there, and then they chose to leave.
Because of the unsuccessful meeting, we then asked any feedback be put in writing, and we'd tend to it as quickly as possible. We never received a response. From there, the protest started.
And then they turned to be like, well, we offered these things in writing and blah, blah. But again, anytime we've ever put anything in writing, it's dismissed and never taken care of. So these patterns of behavior, and in turn, the gaslighting is a pattern of behavior.
Yep.
It is not changing. And that's why we needed to do something different to change things.
Myth number 2, we voluntarily removed Carl's mural a day after it went up. This one is kind of weird, and it's kind of an aside and a misdirection from any of the like really substantive things. But there was a mural of one of the Dhar Mann actors who sadly passed away. They put it on the wall of the office, and then the landlord asked them to move it. I don't understand why you wouldn't talk to the landlord or talk to someone who could approve you putting up a mural. And if you're going to do it, then why don't you, if you want something to last, why don't you put it elsewhere? I don't know. But it's just not a super important point in the grand scheme of things. Myth number 3, we don't issue 1099s to actors. This one is kind of like random. I think that there was a sign from someone that says, why don't we have 1099s? But the issue is that they're paying their actors through PayPal. And so they have to go to PayPal instead of their job to get their 1099s, which is frustrating. I get it. But again, this isn't like a super important point to me. I think something that the actors point out is that you need to talk to the bookings team to get a summary of your earnings. And that's kind of funny because like the booking team should be doing booking and they don't have like an accounting team because they kind of outsource it all to PayPal, which very much feels like, despite the size of this organization, it feels a little like things are it feels a little under the table, It's just sketch for the size of company that it is. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with this. So this is an example of them not addressing the real issue and nitpicking. And another example of this is myth number 4, we do not pay our actors. No one said that. Like, what?
They'll book you for 5 days and be like, we need you to be available all of these 5 days. Normally, a real studio, when they book you for that, they give you what's called a holding fee. They say, we need you to be available on these days. We don't know which day we're booking you for yet. We're still working on things with the schedule. But because you're not going to book anything else, we're going to pay you a fee. It's not going to be your full day rate for working. But in case you had to turn down other work, here's a fee that you get.
Yep.
For being available. They don't do that. And then it'll come like a day before the shoot, 2 days before sometimes, hey, we only need you for 1 day. And it's like, wait, but I held 5 and I turned down work for other companies.
So this is disputing this myth that, Dhar Mann pays fairly, right? Because most acting gigs do not pay hourly only when you're on set. Like, you get paid day rates. And there's another actor, Nathan Ng, who talks about why this is like an unethical way to pay and why actors should be paid a day rate and not an hourly rate.
You just committed 5 days for them, and you're only going to be needed for, let's say, 2. And in those 2 days, because it's an hourly rate with a day commitment, I get paid the rate of $33 an hour. Let's say 2 hours a day, I make $132. But I had to book out 5 different days for them. Now, when other projects come up, I have to turn them down because I have no idea what those days are going to be for filming for my part. So in those 5 days, I made $132. That's it.
So if Dhar Mann says you have to be available for the next 5 days and you set that time aside and you don't accept any new jobs, you're missing out on all of this potential income. And then when time actually comes to shoot, you have a much smaller role because none of this stuff was in writing. Multiple actors have talked about how they do not know like what their role is going to be and how big it's going to be until they've signed a contract. So they're kind of left in the dark and they don't actually know what they're getting into. I saw this in, a lot of the people have been commenting this. People commented on my video that like these actors know what they're getting into. I think that enough actors have sort of called out this sort of predatory way of kind of holding time that it's worth calling out. Myth number 5, we do not give actors or crew members credits. People have asked for IMDb credits that haven't received them, and they're saying we do give credits. I don't know. I do kind of want to look at some of the people who've said they've yet to receive credits and see if that is still the case. But they're like, no, we put credits in the YouTube descriptions. Apparently, they don't always do it on IMDb. And IMDb for actors is very important. Credits are very important. So I can understand why this would be a sticking point for actors. Myth number 6 is a personal favorite of mine because of the way that they've chosen to address this point. Myth number 6, we don't take feedback. I don't know if that was said expressly, but it seems kind of too broad, right? They say, truth, we are a very feedback-driven culture. We have 3 ways of giving us feedback, and you'll never believe the first way. Number 1, the anonymous actor feedback box, which people can leave their opinions in. They're collected frequently and reviewed by management. We now have the option for people to let us know who they are, so we can actually contact them and follow up on their feedback. But they can also choose to remain anonymous. Oh my God, you have a feedback box. Problem solved. I can definitely be sure that when I put my feedback in the feedback box that it'll get addressed. First of all, it looks like a trash can. 2, it doesn't say feedback box. It says suggestion slip. Like, I don't know, maybe could we have more vegetarian options at the crafty table? Like that's what a suggestion slip implies to me. Not suggestion, maybe we could have a little bit more pay for how much we've contributed to the business. Like I don't know. I don't know if that's really going to happen on a suggestion slip. Like one of the many issues with ways like this to get feedback is how like how it separates the humanity from the feedback. Like I do think that like if you have to just talk to the box, it's a little bit dystopian, right? Like, oh, you want to give some feedback? Talk to the box. But don't worry, there are other ways to give feedback. Okay, this is embarrassing because I don't think I have a screenshot of the number 2 way to give feedback and I don't remember what it was. So assume the best case scenario for that. But number 3 is my personal favorite. It's just a guy named Joe. We now have an awesome guy named Joe who walks around with his clipboard greeting actors and requesting any feedback as to how they can make their experience any better. Joe comes from the hospitality industry and is great to work with. Feedback is reviewed by management. So I actually changed this person's name, and I also am blurring this photo of him because they just put this random new employee on blast. I have it on good authority that Joe is a new person, a new member of the team. And also they're coming from the hospitality industry, which is not the same as the human resources industry. Your actors are not patrons of your restaurant. They are workers. They are working for you. So I think that you should have someone who has a background in people management or human resources or something that's actually able to talk to them about this feedback. Because this person, as wonderful as they may be, Joe, seems nice. He has a clipboard. Doesn't mean that they're well equipped to handle the issues of actors. There was some myth about not working with actors for medical conditions or disabilities. I don't know much about that. I haven't seen many people talk about this one, but I have heard people talk about not being able to accept a job, like getting offered like a one-off job with Dhar Mann after working with him a bunch and then having something come up, like they couldn't make this one filming and then never getting called back again. There are examples of that.
It all came to a head last fall when I had to turn down a speaking role because I had a family emergency to tend to. And then I never heard from them again, at all.
We are saddened that the situation has gotten here. We will continue to focus on moving forward in a positive direction, which is to say, we will sweep this all under the rug and pretend like it never happened. So a lot of actors were sharing their stories, but one of the stories that I do want to highlight that I feel like should have caused a little bit more concern was from Jaslyn Nicolette, who shares this very harrowing story. I do want to warn you, I'm going to show some of her stories. So if, it's not for the faint of heart. And if that description alarms you, is not something you want to see, then I would skip ahead.
I was doing a TikTok video with Dhar, and it was around Halloween time. So he was supposed to be chasing me with a weapon. We have prop weapons on set. There should never be real weapons on set. The security guard gives him a real knife and points the knife at me. I immediately was shocked and paralyzed, didn't know what to do. I felt so unsafe that there was a knife being pointed at me. I then proceeded to run out of the studio crying. I had a complete meltdown.
Yeah, so not only does she have this harrowing experience, but she then goes to the head of production. They sort of apologize and say all of these changes they're going to make.
I got a call from the head of production, and I said basically everything that happened. I felt really unsafe. I actually asked to talk to Dhar because Dhar was the one holding the knife, and he said that wasn't possible. She
asked to meet with Dhar Mann himself, and they say that's not possible, which is fucked up to me. It seems like this girl has gone through some very serious trauma, and she was put in a very compromising, very traumatizing situation by someone in power.
So then I proceeded to turn down work for about 3 months because I was so afraid to step into the studio. Again, the head of the production told me that there was going to be assistant directors on TikTok videos. I then went back. There was no assistant directors on TikTok video productions.
And then on top of that, she goes back into the production after a few months of not taking work because she was afraid to step into the studio. And they have not instated the changes that they said they were going to make. They said they were going to put an assistant director on the shoots to make sure that these types of things can't happen in the future. And it just didn't happen. So where does it go from here? I was in contact with a number of the actors, Mare and Chaz primarily. They were planning a press conference. They were planning a big protest on like February the 13th, I believe, which was a Monday. And on that Monday, due to some reasons that I am not able to share, I don't think, the studio was closed. So there was actually no one working at the studio that day for the protests, which, if the reason they closed the studio was valid, then it's just a crazy coincidence. But I don't have any more information than that. The Tuesday was the day of a press conference. So they had like ABC7 come and interview the actors, but they don't know a ton about the experience. So they're having to like rehash all of the stuff that we already know. But at least it did get some mainstream attention. And after that, things kind of went back to normal. I heard through the grapevine that, a lot of actors like turned coat, were maybe allegedly pressured with certain things. I do think that there are actors who have been more outspoken about what happened there, but I, want to also protect myself in sharing this, so I don't want to sort of say anything out of line here. For whatever reason, the actors that left are gone. A lot of the actors that protested are gone, and Dhar Mann has gone back to normal. Deleted every little, shred of this little blip, this little incident, and is now business as usual. And this is how large corporations work, you know? They just have so much momentum and so much power and so much influence that like they can sweep something even seemingly this big under the rug. And it seems like they've been successful in that. I don't think their views have really taken a hit. I think a few of their videos had some more dislikes and stuff, but for the most part, you know, it seems like things are back to normal. But not before Dhar Mann could post what I feel is one of the most ignorant things I've ever seen, which is this video of Dhar Mann looking somber, sitting on a bench, and having all of his workers who've decided to stand with Dhar comforting him while We Are Family plays in the background, which I cannot play because I'll probably get claimed for it. Optically, this makes me upset. Maybe I'm unreasonable. Maybe that makes me a bad person. But this man does not need to be comforted, all right? We're focusing on the workers. He's fine. He's still a multi-millionaire. His company is still printing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. These actors have been wronged, and they feel like they've been wronged. And I think they have a valid reason to feel that way. And so the fact that Dhar Mann, this is the one thing that he posted on his actual Dhar Mann account, was this like, We Are Family, I'm being comforted by my Dhar Mann fan video, feels so wrong to me. And I just had to point that out. But that does not mean that all is for naught, because due to the outpouring of support from the fans of these Dhar Mann actors for themselves and not just the fact that they were in Dhar Mann videos, there was a big call for the actors to create their own channel. And I think that, you know, initially there was some push and pull about this, but they actually did do it.
We heard you, and we're here to answer your prayers with a new channel.
We know you want to see more from us, so we're bringing you more.
Your support has been overwhelming. Well, you know what? We're doing our own content.
So they're making their own new channel. They're making their own new show. They're all going to be working together again. I think this is very, very sweet. And they've got an Indiegogo campaign that they're raising money for. It still has a few days left as of the recording of this video, so I will be sharing it. They've already raised their goal of $10,000. I'm so proud of them. Good job. Good job, team. You know, this is a silver lining. I think that, you know, Dhar Mann is not going to really have to answer for any of the things that have happened. And so rather than like sort of barking up that tree, I think we can all just support, you know, these actors. I'm going to watch their videos on stream when they come out. Maybe I'll make fun of them in the fun way that we always have, or just enjoy them. Who knows? Yeah, I just wanted to catch you all up on what's going on with Dhar Mann, and what's going on with the Dhar Mann protests. And thanks for joining me on this journey. And shout out again to the actors and sort of kind of keeping me in the loop and talking to me. And they've also shared that they really appreciated the first video I did. And, you know, it's the least I can do for how much I've enjoyed their work. I think Dhar Mann Bingo is dead on my Twitch stream. But we'll find something else to fill the spot there. I also wanted to thank the sponsor of this video, Scentbird. Really helps out everything we're trying to do on this channel and beyond with the podcast and future projects as well. But yeah, that's all. And stay gold, everybody. Bye.